What are Jira's projects? How should you use them? And why the hell is this name so misleading? This is what I'm going to be talking about in this video, which is part of our effort to deliver high quality training and learning materials for the Atlassian ecosystem in general. And if you want to support that, consider subscribing. And please remember that we also offer paid services in this area in general: customizations, configurations, optimization, automation of your Jira work, Jira workflows, Jira stuff, and everything that is connected also with project management inside the Jira ecosystem, which I will also mention a little bit later in this video. But now let's go back to Jira projects. So the concept of a Jira project that I'm actually looking at right now in front of me over here is that you, as a user of Jira, you need to have a way of structuring the data, right? And this is exactly what Jira projects in general allow you to do. So they are basically, I like to call them bags for issues. So you have those issues, you have those tasks, you have those entries that you need to store somewhere. You need to group them somehow, and that's exactly what Jira project allows you to do. You just create a project. I'll come back to why it's named like this, or why it shouldn't maybe be named like this. And you just throw things inside, hoping that this is exactly what your project data is going to look like in the end. It's not always the case, but let's stick with this right now. Now, as a bag for those issues, what else does it allow you to do? What are the most important components of that bag? So, of course, first of all, the data. Any project you will be running, you need to have the data, and you will be using different tasks, subtasks, activities that will be happening inside your project to conduct and control and measure the progress of the work, right? So all the data that you need to successfully go through the project will go into that bag. So that's one of the things. The second thing is, of course, people. So that's why Jira projects allow you to control who has access to the data, who can do what with the data, who can edit, who can only view things, who doesn't have access to it at all. So that's, of course, an important part of it. But the one that is even more interesting and more important, I think, maybe not more, maybe equally, are workflows. So you will want to be able to push the work that you've registered inside your project through a process, right? And this is what a workflow will allow you to do. So that's why any project settings you will go to, you will also find a section for workflows over here that will allow you to figure out what kind of workflows you currently have. You can edit those workflows if you want to. So I have a very simple one over here, and I'm going to display it as a diagram so that it's easily understandable. And you can see that the workflow that I have in my project I'm looking at right now has only 3 statuses: to do, in progress, and done. And each status can transfer to any other, right? So that's as simple as it gets. But of course, those workflows are editable. You can work on them and you can customize them to your particular needs. So if you need any kind of approval process, it's possible to add it over here. If you need any kind of cancellation process, any kind of reiterating process, for example, to add more information, this can be added over here. And as an example, I have over here a workflow that is a tiny bit more complicated. And if you look at that, it has a lot more statuses, a lot more transitions, so movements between one status and another. And you can even attach some automatic actions to all of those transitions to make it even more, and friendly for the end users and save time really, and sometimes the clicks. So these are the workflows, and that's why I think workflows are so important. Okay, now let's go back to that previous view, because I will also mention a few things regarding the project itself and what you can do in a project in terms of the views that it provides to you, right? So most of the projects will, for example, I'm saying for example because some of these things can be turned off and on inside a project, right? So you can have, for example, a timeline view. that will allow you to look at your project data as a timeline. So I have several simple epics over here. I can expand them, see tasks underneath those epics. I could have also subtasks under those tasks, and essentially I could build a very nice structure for my work inside the project with this. If you're working in an agile way, then you will probably be interested in the backlog, where you can record all the data and then group them into sprints. There is also a separate section for active sprints, so the ones that are happening right now. And then you also have a bunch of reports. Of course, any project without the reports will probably be, well, maybe not useless, but not that useful actually. So a lot of reports available over here. What we very often find is that the reports that are available over here are not enough, and then you want to extend the functionality of those reports with some additional apps, which is possible, of course, in Jira. So if you want to talk about this, how to get more reports, let us know and we will help you out. But now let's go back to the project. So reports, the issues. So the view where you can actually look at all the issues recorded inside the projects. So issues is the Jira nomenclature. Every entry that you can see over here is an issue, but there are several issue types inside Jira. So for example, here I'm looking at a task. Here I'm looking at an epic. Here I'm looking at the subtask. There is a user story here. There is also a bug, and so on. So you could even create your own issue types if you need that. And very often this is the case to just make things clear to the end user, which is very, very important, in my opinion, at least. So anytime we help our customers implement tools like Jira or maybe project management apps on top of Jira, we always make sure that everything is as self-explanatory as possible, because you don't want the users to be confused about the functionality. Anyway, this view will help you go through all of the data that you have. It's not really structured in any fancy way. It's just a table. So if you want to look at the data in a table-like fashion, this is where you will go to. So, and that's more or less what projects allow you to do. You store issues or store data inside the project. You structure it in a certain way. You assign workflows to it. You pull people in so that they can work on the data. And then you just watch things happen, control the progress of work, and then report it to higher ups, probably. Now, does that sound like a project to you? Kind of, right? So this could be a project, but the problem with the name Jira Project is that this bag, this container for issues, doesn't necessarily have to be a project every single time. It is one of its use cases, but definitely not the only one. So very, very often, you will create a Jira project which will actually contain all of the data from a certain department. You could create a Jira project that will go through all the data for a certain team, for example, or a certain group inside your company. You could create a Jira project that will hold the data for any kind of ongoing initiative that is never going to stop, and it will just be adding more and more data on top of what already exists. So the applications of the Jira project are very wide, and how you're going to use those entities that are called Jira projects is actually a very important element of structuring your Jira data. So I totally advise for those of you that are starting their journey with Jira or going to start their journey with Jira to think hard about how you're going to use Jira projects, because this will be one of your first but very important steps. For those of you that already work with Jira but you feel like you have a mess, maybe it's time to reconsider how you're using Jira projects and ask yourself a question: is there a better way of structuring whatever I currently have in Jira, and how much work it's going to take to make things a little bit more understandable for everybody? Usually it's not that hard. If you want to talk about this, let us know. We will be happy to help you out. Now, another thing, probably the last one that I want to address over here, is that very, very often, because it's called a Jira project, people will think this will be exactly the place that will allow me to work with the data that I have over here in a project-like fashion. And people very often think project-like fashion, so they immediately expect a Gantt chart over here, resource management, risk management, budgeting, maybe stuff like that, right? Unfortunately, Jira Project doesn't really cover those areas extensively. So some of the things are well doable over here. So the timeline that I showed you over here is kind of like a simplified version of the Gantt chart, but it is missing a lot of Gantt-like functionalities. Now, the backlog and active sprint section, so the elements that are responsible for the agile approach, are a lot better. So if you're looking for a tool that will help you in your agile journey in your project management, this could be, without even anything on top of that, a very good choice. But if you're looking for something that will contain this waterfall-like approach or a hybrid approach where you have both agile and waterfall elements, then you will have to reach out for additional apps that can be added on top of Jira, like BigPicture, like Structure, like WBS Gantt, something like this, right? So if you want to explore this area, definitely give us a shout out, because we have a lot of experience in this area. We have been growing together with one of the biggest and probably most successful tools when it comes to project management in the Atlassian ecosystem, and we have lots of expertise in it, which we will happily share with you, of course. All the necessary information to contact us will be also available in the description of this video. Give us a call and let's see how we can help you out if you're interested in this area. Now, that is basically all that I wanted to share with you in this video. I hope this was helpful, and I hope it helps you understand how a Jira project is supposed to be used. And actually, one more thing that I want to mention before we end this. When I hit create a project, there will also be different templates available to you. So those templates are structured in a way that should help you kickstart any initiative that you're going to begin here in the Atlassian ecosystem, in Jira ecosystem, right? So if you're looking for a marketing project, so a place for a marketing team to start working with, these templates over here could be the ones that will be a lot better for that particular team than the software development templates, right? So I've absolutely explored this area and picked the right template for you. There is, like, every template can be changed to quite quickly, really, to look like a template from another entry on the list over here, because the differences between those templates are actually just workflows and issue types that are mostly workflows and issue types that are stored inside. And as I mentioned before, all of this is customizable. So it's just a starting point. Think of those templates as a starting point, which you can build upon later on. Okay, I think that this is all right now, and I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be seeing you in one of the next ones.